Cloud Credibility, Marketing Yourself in the AWS Era with Janvi Bhagchandani. Here we go. All right, there you are. Hey, hi Janvi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. How are you? How about you guys? Like, what are you guys up to?
We're doing fine. Damien, you go first. I always go first. You go first, please.
What am I up to? I'm in the middle of my workday, actually. So, which is totally fine because I create content for work. I'm on video calls for work. So this is just another video call, really. Yeah, just enjoying my Wednesday. Glad that it is Wednesday. And yeah, I'm very glad to be here. I have not met you before, John B. So it's
Likewise, this is also like really new for me. You guys have already stalked you guys, but I'm gonna pretend like I have not. But you guys are so cool enough, so I'm like already in my jitty mood. Like I'm learning so much.
Awesome. So we are welcome everybody to V Brown Bag. Today we're going to be talking about cloud credibility. This is kind of a fascinating topic for me because the way that our show started, we just kind of like do this because it's fun. We don't actually deliberately or we don't have a process. We just kind of do the things that we like to do. And Damien, if I'm speaking out of turn and you actually have a process, please let me know because I'm just making it up as I go.
We do have a process.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
And yes, and the process is called making it up as we go.
Perfect. Okay, good. All right, yeah. we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So learning about like kind of marketing yourself and like building it. This is something that I'm particularly fascinated about, and I'm going to have a lot of questions because. I would say that we're all making it up as we go. So this is going to be, if you've got like ideas and like mechanisms and recommendations, then we will start implementing them here immediately. So, what made you want to do a talk like this? What was it that you saw out there that was like, oh yeah, we definitely need to talk about this?
Okay, so this comes from my personal interest too. Like you said, that you are fascinated about it. I actually got fascinated because I'm also part of AWS Community Ahmedabad, where we always do, like meetups, tech events. And before that, prior to that, I was also that AWS Cloud Captain for 2024. So,
amazing. Congratulations.
So these programs have to be reachable for people where we market them in a certain way or we market them in a certain stanza which is easier for them to come to us to learn about things. But more than that, I realize the way I interact with people creates a lot for them too. There is like, even though that interaction for me must not be out of the blue or something really really big, but for them it can be something that catches them on, that makes them feel credible about me, where they can come to me and talk to me about different solutions or different ways of how they can be interactive within the community. So I just randomly happened to first talk about this with my friend, and we were just talking about ins and outs and all because okay, even if I have a very socially minimalistic life, I say I'm not in any other social media apart from LinkedIn and in the AWS community YouTube channels where you'll see tidbits of me here and there.
Right.
I kept on I don't want to put my post in form of numbers or recognitions, not like that, but I do get a lot of DMs regarding that, like, oh, we see your post going 400 plus, or we see your post going 300 plus. What different did you do? Because we are writing the same thing, we are preaching the same thing. What is different in this? Or let's just say they met me in person and they see a same persona of me that they see online and offline, so they feel a lot more connected to me already. Not that putting it out like that, but yeah. So I ended up reading a few books on that, and then I was like, oh, this, okay, I understand this now. And it came to a point where I realized, like, I just finished my bachelor's also. So I was like, for my master's I want to do a second program where I'm doing about learning about marketing or business administration. So that's where it stemmed from. I'll say AWS community kind of brought me into that perspective where I was like, oh, this is new and this is what I'm learning from them too. So yeah, that's the whole thing why I ended up choosing this topic.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, why don't we go ahead and get into it, because there's going to be like, I know that Damien and I in particular are going to pick your brains, and if we get like any audience questions as we go too, then we will work with them as well. But yeah, this is a fascinating topic for me.
Okay, so ever imagine walking into a room where everyone claims to be a cloud expert? Okay, so how do you make yourself remember them? Like in a way, when let's just say they want an AWS solution, they remember you from the back of your mind. So today we'll be just talking about building skills, but not about just building skills, but how to market yourself psychologically, that there is an intentional branding on positioning yourself as an expert or as a credible person. Hence my topic, cloud credibility, marketing yourself in an AWS era, where we'll be talking 6 different tips and tricks that are already mentioned in marketing psychological tricks, which will help you boost in personal branding yourself more. But before we move forward, I'd like to put a tidbit about myself too. Hello everyone, I'm Janvi Bhagchandani. I'm a very freshly minted AWS community builder. So this is my first year. Yeah, I'm a total noob at this. I am still learning a lot about community builders in general. And I mean that in a very nice manner, because I have learned so much from people around me, so much as people like you too. So I'm learning everything new about you guys. But before becoming a community builder, I was your average college going student who was also a former AWS Cloud Club captain. Yeah. So I am endlessly curious about psychology, the morals behind psychology. That is what my recent read is about, like in general about marketing, business administration, and of course all course tech, like how to inbuild that when presenting yourself as a tech expert. And if that works for me, like if that is something that brain puts my brain into some jitters, I'm all in. And as I have already said, that I live a very socially minimalistic life, so I am all in LinkedIn and the AWS community YouTube. You can see me in tidbits over there. If you end up going into a rabbit hole of stalking me over there, I'll consider that as the highest form of like praise. So yeah, you can go forward and do that for me. Now, saying that, let me start with the first topic. Now, this topic, I was actually contemplating if I should put this or not, because a lot of people know about this. They might not know the name authority bias, but what does it mean? Everybody knows about it. It just they don't know the way it is presented. So let me explain with some stating a simple truth. People don't just trust knowledge, they trust someone with authority. For example, think about it. When you walk into a doctor's office, before they even say a word, what's the first thing you'll see in their wall? Their diploma, their degree. Now, that diploma doesn't heal you at all, okay? In fact, but psychologically, it tells your brain that, yeah, this person knows what they're talking about, and that is authority bias in action. So the same thing, the same psychology goes in the AWS careers also. It's not how enough you know about EC2, DynamoDB, Lambda, inside out. The real question is like, how do you package that knowledge so others instantly see you as credible? That's the whole case about. So before that, we will be talking in the next slides about it more in a more brief manner and everything. But there are 3 pillars of AWS authority that I'll point it out right now. And these are the stepping stones which will create a more sense for the later all slides. Now think of authority in AWS as standing on 3 solid pillars: credibility, visible expertise, and community recognition. Now, credential as social proof. What I mean by this is, if you hold something like the AWS Certificate Associates Solution Certified Solutions Architect, certification, it's a sign that you have put in that work. You have put in that work. You have learned the services. You have gone through everything, and you have been validated by AWS themselves for this. That if you pass and all. But here's a trick. Don't just stop by saying, hey, here you go, I'm this AWS certified. Instead, connect to a real impact. For example, instead of saying I'm AWS certified, you could say, hey there, I built a savings plan analysis engine that helped a fintech client cut EC2 cost by 38%. And that my certification is an action. So what over here it is doing is it is kind of psychologically telling that person that, yeah, this person has that diploma or credibility, like in the form of certifications, like theoretically, but also this person also knows the practical use of it. So this is the difference. Like now your credential isn't just a badge, it's actually a whole big story now. Second pillar of this is visible expertise. By visible expertise, I mean is I see this a lot. Okay, someone who's technically so sound, so good, they know a lot about what they are working on, but the only fact is that they do not know how to put that into words or content creation. Like let's just say this, people trust what they see, right? If you consistently tell about your work, I know this is like, it's kind of like saying that you have to, if let's just say you have a gift and I have put in the best of gifts for you in that box. And, but it's just the way of opening that is not user friendly, or is not easy to communicate it, to people, like how to open this box. And a person would not be, much interested in opening it. As simple as that. So there is this benchmark where your technical expertise should have a visible expertise too, which we'll be talking more about later slides. But and the third one, I wanted to touch into this because this third pillar is something that has been consistent with me during my journey, and this is something that people often sideline or do not put much work in it. Third pillar, community recognition, is basically this: when other people validate you. By other people validating you is like, let's just say you contribute in an AWS meetup, rather as a speaker, rather as a volunteer, you contribute to open sources, or even as sharing your journey or whatever you learned in the form of blogs, in the form of webinars like this. It builds recognition for them. Why it builds recognition is that you end up meeting people, like-minded people like you guys. You end up forming a bond with them where you can trust and talk about your difficulties or what you're going through very clearly with them. As well as there is a similar pattern of understanding between them for the subject. So for you also, your knowledge and expertise grows with that. So a lot of people I see, like I always get DMs like, oh, you're doing this community work, we want to be part of it. But they don't put in the work. They'll say, yes, we'll be part of it, but how do they want to be part of it is more in the form of speaker, or more in the form of where they are a center of attention. But a lot of people should understand that volunteering also helps. Volunteering builds a reputation for yourself too. And volunteering to open sources in any form of way, whether it be technical or the physical aspect of it, does give you back. So that is why I ended up putting community recognition as one of the three pillars too. So yeah, this is the starting of it. This is very simple analogy of how a person creates their credibility, but how the psychological concepts are there behind it. We'll be going on the next one. Yeah, so as I said, authority bias. Let's just say, as I mentioned, like when you are certified and all, how which expert will you trust more? Like, I am an AWS certified, or I've designed an EC2 auto scaling strategy to cut cost for this company. Yes, correct. The second one, as simple as that. This simple analogy is also using authority and bias. It's creating a good positive emotion for the other person to recognize you and your capabilities with your certifications. So next time when you are writing about a blog or a post about in your social media, or talking with somebody like, hey, I'm this certified, instead of saying that, just say like, this is how I designed this, and this is how I was able to process this whole solution. As well as because of this, I learned and I got my certification too. So that's a win-win. You're showing your technical and your practical expertise both together. So that is one of the golden rules when posting about your certification, AWS certifications online, because I always see posts like, hey, I'm this certified. But people want to know, your actual use of that expertise too. A practical example for this is, before posting on LinkedIn, ask, this is something that a rule I go with when I'm looking at somebody's post is like, does this post show my certification, like any credibility, whether it be in the form of AWS certification, volunteer work, or anything? Does it problem solve anything? Like, does it shows my expertise in something? For example, in volunteer work, let's just say you are in backstage or you are hosting, or if you do a AWS certification, you realize, this is my expertise. Or is it showing a community recognition? Always, keep a clue and keep a look on that, because this creates a good analogy for people to look above. So yeah, that is authority and bias. Now coming to my most favorite rule, the 738 and 55 rule. So this rule is actually based on Mehrabian's search. Mehrabian was actually a psychologist who was an engineer like us, but turned into psychology. He took his technical expertise and created psychological annotations for that. So according to his research, communication impact breaks down into three things. Again, three rule. 7% is the words, 38% are the tone, and 55% are the body language. Now you must be thinking, oh, this like seems a very, statistically a very particular number. But why is this said? Let's just say you're presenting a solution. This means your technical accuracy, just because you have a technical accuracy is not enough. Your non-verbal delivery also determines where your message lands. In a simple context, I'm not going to be taking anybody's name, but there was this expert I had, a show, like I went to that meetup with, and I saw them. They had some really good technical expertise, and they had some really good points. The only thing was that person was slouching. That person was slouching. That person was like, couldn't even maintain eye contact with anybody in audience. Now, what that creates a deception for people. Let's just say you are saying out something. This is the right thing, but you do not have that confidence, that structure to say it out loud in a a body language manner where it shows that you're confident. It is of no use. People will not see it credible enough. People will be like, this person does not even seem confident to showcase their own technical expertise. How will be they actually, how will this all trips that they're showing us will be benefiting us? As simple as that. So these are the 785 rule also has some positioning tactics. So what that means is, this is more on the physical cues when you meet somebody that you can use, is like open structure, position. That is basically, arms should be uncrossed. Your palm should be visible when explaining any strategy or a architectural device. You should have a very grounded stance. Like I said, should not be slouching. You should be, very confidently determining these are the diagramming all the topologies or anything that is mentioned out. Make purposeful gestures. I cannot say it out loud, but I always see that by purposeful gestures, I mean that you should always have a bit sense of how you're addressing somebody. For example, let's just say I'm meeting somebody for the first time, or if I'm presenting somebody or anything, if you keep using index finger, this is seen very unpolite. I know this makes no sense, but it's actually it seems very aggressive, like, oh my God, you are pointing me out. In a different manner, it does not seem that good enough. So whenever I'm addressing, this is like something I noticed, that whenever I'm addressing, then I end up, like, just say I'm hosting something and I want to talk with somebody in audience. Instead of using index finger, like, hey, you stand up, or, let's talk, I'll be using my palm. A simple gesture like palm can make them feel more, like can create a very positive narration for you. Like psychologically it will create a positive narration where they feel like welcomed enough, where they feel that this person is not argumentative enough, where they're pointing out and making me do what they want, but more in the sense like they're asking me, and it creates a positive correlation where they end up talking with you more, where they feel, yeah, my stand is also is also kept in. And the fourth thing is would be confident eye contact. Always, always, always maintain a 3 to 5 second interval during any discussion, team briefing, or just talking with somebody in general. Have that eye contact. They should feel seen, in one sense of way. Because, I see this a lot. For example, a friend of mine, we randomly ended up having this conversation. He was in part of a team meeting, and there were a lot of things going on. He had some really good ideas, like really good ideas that could be put through and it would have been implemented very well. The only problem was that during that tech tech time, during that time briefing, he kept on looking here and there. He was not able to maintain his eye contact. He kept on looking down on his on his iPad or something, jotting something down, even though he was fully paying attention, listening to that person. Now what ended up happening is his ideas were not seen, and he felt so crushed. He was like, dude, I worked on these ideas, I knew this would have been worked. I don't understand, during the meeting it felt like I was not seen. And I was like, okay, just tell me. I knew his behavior and demeanor, so I was like, did you maintain eye contact with them? Did you make them feel seen, that you are understanding and hearing them out in the meeting? And his thing was like, but I know these people for a very long time, I've been working with them in the office, I'm sure they would have understood that. And I'm like, you know it's not always about understanding, it's also about these gestures where they feel like you're validating and hearing that. Maybe they felt that you are not giving your time, or you're not giving your attention to this meeting, you do not feel it's impactful enough, and maybe that is the reason why maybe they felt that you do not have any ideas to go through with, or you do not care enough. So maybe next time, just go in and talk with them, have an eye contact, and let's see if that makes a change. And he told me the next day, after 2 3 days when we had a talk, he was like, it was the eye contact problem. And I was like, see, it was as simple. Now that person would get a trauma, like, oh my God, nobody cares about my ideas. It's more on the fact that you didn't make them also see that, I care about enough to create these ideas for you guys. So that subtle, physical signals, like, that prime your audience to perceive you as a trusted person, even before you finish the first sentence. That is what the 7, 8, 38, and 55 rule means, basically.
I
Now,
love the examples.
Yeah, quick question about that. So your eye contact friend, did he, so you called him out, you said you're not making eye contact. Did he go back, re-deliver it? How did he find out that was the issue? Did he re-deliver the talk, and then they actually were much more responsive?
Yes. So
Nice.
He told me that nobody in that meeting ended up asking him anything. Nobody, when he tried to even put out his answer on that, and everybody was like, oh, okay, let's move on. So next day he told me that he went again when they had a team briefing and everything. He kept his point again in the same manner. He was like, oh, I don't think so. Yesterday I was able to come across this, but I would like to make, some efforts for this too. Like, I want to put in some points like that. And this time around, he made more physical eye contacts. He made more gestures where he was explaining it very,
Nice.
in a very confident manner where it was perceived very well. And they were like, oh, that's nice. We'll be using this. So that's how for him,
Cool.
like a day before, he was like, they don't care about me, to being the second day where they were like, it was my problem. It was my social cues that didn't make them feel confident. And I was like, see.
Yeah. Being a tall person, I have to be mindful of like my size and moving my arms and stuff, right? Like, because it's like, what's the big guy doing, right? So it almost kind of works the other way as well, right? Like, you have to be mindful of just the space that you take up,
Yeah.
And like I will raise the volume of my voice a lot at home to get my kids' attention, and they're like, why are you yelling? And I'm like, this isn't even yelling. I'm just being louder. Like if I were yelling, there would be tears. Like, so yeah.
You know, this is very similar to when you're having one-to-one conversations, okay, and there are a lot of people around you, like in, like, let's just say a conference, a meetup, like, in breaks when you meet somebody. I've often noticed that if you're very stiff, you're hearing them, seeing them, but if you're very stiff, you give out that impression that, okay, this person is not interested in talking with me. Just out of courtesy of being polite, they're hearing me. So I notice when I lean back a bit, like lean back towards them, like hearing them out, that structure gives them more of a confidence. Like, yeah, I'm hearing them out. I am listening to them, and I'm giving them, I'm giving them the time to, I'm also gonna be giving my thoughts in it. So this simple even just a simple body language, I didn't know made that much difference, because this happened with me. I used to give comments like that you come off very stiff when you're talking to you. It doesn't feel like you are interested. Then I had to go back and I was like, wait, why is this happening with me? So even as simple as that, these are some very small social cues that nobody actually perceives or sees it very well, but these work very well in person when you meet somebody.
I find it hard to believe that anybody would accuse you of being stiff. You have really good energy. If you've worked on this, then you've been doing a great job.
Well, you have to say my mom that I was a very crybaby. I'll say that. Oh. She was the one. Actually, these all things, I'll say, she taught me in a very different manner that I'm using right now, which I didn't understand had some psychological impact. But yeah, she's the one who was like, but no wonder she has also learned child psychology. So she maybe used that on me. Who knows?
Yeah.
She did it. Good job. Good job, Mom.
I remember some years ago when I was first being more socially present in technology, like maybe 2010, right? I always felt different approaching conversations with people that I didn't know very well. I felt different if I had a drink in my hand, like an alcoholic drink, versus not, right? And I was like, it's so much easier for me to talk to people when I'm drinking, obviously, because it's lowered inhibitions and things like that. But it's harder when I'm not. Why don't I just always just pretend like that same level of relaxation is there, right? And so I felt that actually helped me build rapport a lot faster, because I intentionally entered into that conversation relaxed, rather than, oh God, what am I going to say next, right? Or what are they going to think about, right? So
I thought you were going to go the other way. I thought you were going to be like, why don't I just drink constantly?
That was A/B testing, Chris. That was early.
Yeah.
On.
Oh, okay. All right.
Why am I getting the vibe that this is how you made Chris your friend? Like,
I have an idea,
well, yeah.
Damien. You thought this was water.
Yeah. Same.
Okay, so the next in the line is the primacy effect. Now, this is a formula that I always use. So this is like a best kept secret of mine that I'm putting it out. When I was making this presentation, I thought about not putting this in, putting another psychological marketing strategy in. But then I was like, I should let it out. It's fine. It's okay. But yeah, this is a prime induction formula that I always use. Like, always, in the sense of when I'm writing a LinkedIn post, let's just say or if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, how would I'm presenting myself is based on this. So the primacy effect basically revolves around, that it shows that people remember what they hear first, more than what comes later. Like, for example, the first 15 seconds in any client call, team meeting, or a tech talk, or, let's just say you're meeting somebody for the first time, defines your impression for the whole lot of hour. If they feel like, they feel your energy first, in a way, the way how confidently you're showing off, or how, by confidently, I don't mean in a cocky manner, but in the way where they feel like, yeah, this person is approachable and everything. So that stays in your mind first. Then, them having this, there is a thing also, like, first impression matters a lot. But there are also tricks how to, reverse engineer yourself if your first impression wasn't good. But yeah, first impressions do keep a very big matter. And for that, there is a psychological term called the prime induction formula, where every word has an abbreviation. For example, P, position. Position basically refers to your, your like your job standing, your social standing, or anything that is, you're currently working in the role of. Relevance would be what is your specialization in that position. Let's just say, what are you up doing in that position, what is relevant for that you are occupying or doing in that position. I is for impact. That is basically, this is how, what impact you're doing having this position, having putting this relevant thing, how is that an impactful. Memorability is basically you showcasing a skill of yours that reconnects them with your with your impact and position. And engagement is basically asking a follow-up question for that. For example, a prime induction formula for a cloud solution architect would be like, P for position, it would be, hi, I'm a cloud solutions architect. The relevance would be specializing in AWS migrations for financial services. The impact would be, I recently helped a regional bank reduce latency by 62% during a core banking migration. The memorability of it would be like saying, but yeah, I did it by re-architecting their legacy Java apps using containers and Farragut. And the engagement part of would be like, see, this is what I did, but what has been the biggest scaling challenge in your environment lately? So what does this formula do is it introduces yourself also in the AWS, atmosphere. It also helps you meet new clients or new potential people where, you can, learn from them or expand your knowledge. And this is what I use when writing LinkedIn summaries or conferences bias. What this does is this basically creates a very, triggers a very pattern recognition that creates an open loop, pulling people into for further conversations where they know about you. And they also, use saying an engagement question pushes them out from their shell also to tell them more about you. A very famous case study about this in AWS is the Netflix thing. Everybody knows about that. They used AWS to deliver streaming to over 100 million users globally. And basically they innovated, auto scaling, chaos engineering, and Lambda for operations. Now, the psychological angle of this is like Netflix introduction to AWS was so impressive that it shaped AWS reputation in media and streaming, right? So Netflix first AWS story about building a resilient global streaming platform established them as a cloud pioneers. And that's a very power of a compelling first impression. And you can hear about this whole case study in that AWS has published already. But yeah, this is one of the prime examples of primacy effect, of how, you can pull in people for a conversation while also establishing yourself over there. Coming to the next, this is a practical exercise. Like, you have to deliver a 30-second self introduction using a prime formula. This is the formula if anybody wants to screenshot it and all. And what I want from anybody who is watching this is actually journal afterward that what, did you get any lean ups, did you get any follow ups, or do people remember you much better after this? What, is there a thing back? I have seen a lot in my case where I have used this in my personal LinkedIn when I'm posting any LinkedIn story or post or anything. So I do get DMs about, oh, you talked about this, how do we get into it, or how is this case study interrelated with this? So try that, and if anybody ends up doing it, tag me, maybe I'll check it out too. So yeah, that's a practical exercise for anybody. Now, coming to the reciprocity principle. This is one of my favorite one. Like, let me ask you guys something. Have you ever gone to a restaurant and they bring you a free mint with the bill? You didn't ask for it, but suddenly, don't you feel a bit more warmer towards the waiter? Or maybe if they're very extra nice, they're very they know cautious about what you are doing and everything. Let's just say you spilled something, and they are very up to do with with their hands, and they're like, oh, let me help you out. Maybe you'll tip them even more. And that is what reciprocity means, that someone gives you something, no matter how small, we feel a natural pull to give them back. Now, here's the thing, the same principle applies in cloud world too. If you give freely knowledge, tools, insights, people always remember. As simple as that. And they feel the psychological nudge to give you back. And that's the reciprocity principle in action. For example, sometimes there are two ways this works. One is the short term trigger, one is the long term trigger, but both of them are very correlated to each other. Short term trigger would be, let's just say, this principle works very instantly in that you can create what I call is micro triggers, where small favors spark a trust or buy in you right away. For example, if I ask someone, hey, how are you currently handling the S3 life cycle cost control? On the surface, this might look a very casual question. But in reality, I'm uncovering a pain point and showing expertise at the same time too. A quick win would be like, let's just say, or maybe I share a Lambda optimization script that cuts execution time by 30%. That tiny script isn't life changing at all, but it makes the other person think, like, wow, this person helped me very immediately. And they're suddenly more open to referrals, collaboration, or even hiring. And a best way to do that is resource sharing. Like, let's just say you share a custom tool, like let's just say you send an API gateway calculator which you build, and it reduces billing errors by half or two other teams. That act of generosity created a ripple effect of trust for you. So short term reciprocity is like planting quick seeds, you see growth almost immediately. That's what it triggers. But for, let's just say, long term influence, that is where educational content as a value engine comes in here. But here's the where it gets more powerful. Long term reciprocity is like, this is when you create small values that keep working long after you're gone. What I mean for that is, for example, you gave a free AWS assessment tool. You give them a link for any webinar, you give them any GitHub templates, anything. Or let's just say, like how community builders form is up, like whenever it's up, you give them that, or you help them out in AWS Cloud Club program and everything. They aren't like one time favors, these are deposits into someone's psychological bank account. So every time they use that tool, or recall that webinar, or they remember, when they see that form again, they'll remember you, like you were the person who helped them. And there's the magic. When the day comes that they need an AWS consultant, a collaborator, or even just someone to recommend or give them advice, who do you think they'll come to first? Obviously you, because you provided them with a free thing, which is a psychological trigger for them. So if we bring it out together, short-term reciprocity builds instant trust, and with small wins though. But long-term reciprocity brings influence, and that compounds over time actually. Together, they form one of the most powerful psychological engines in marketing yourself in the AWS system. And that's what I've seen. So, a quick trick for this is, there was this person who reached out to me with me in DM. Now, I'm not someone who opens LinkedIn all the time. Like, I had a streak of where I was consistent, and then I stopped being consistent right now because of my whole university stuff. But this person reached out to me and they were like, oh, I am learning this AWS thing. Okay, it's small and steady. How do I find like minded people if I am not, not into, I cannot come into community work, and let's just say I cannot be part of it. So how do I do comment? So I was like, okay, set a day, like how you guys set a day, like Wednesday is for, V Brown Bag. I was like, set a day, put a vlog on that day on LinkedIn or anything, or connect with somebody on that day specifically. let's just say you created a blog where you talk about, this is the containers we use, this is that and all, I need help with this, or what are the more resources, or you help somebody on that day with somebody's with a resource. Like, let's just say you put out a poll, hey, I'm here helping out if anybody wants an idea or something. You will, but keep it for that specific day, and keep it for that specific time. Let's just say you set a time like 9:30 is when you go to LinkedIn and you post this. You will see a reach where during this time, like on a like on a Friday 9:30, they will remember you. They'll check out their LinkedIn's and be like, oh, what is this person up to? It's same with the influencers. How they have a very scheduled post, so that audience knows that during this time they'll always be available and they'll always be able to look out for them. So that also that is a very short term trigger that is converted to a long term trigger. So this is one of the most fun principle that you can use when marketing your brand or marketing anything for your socially. Now coming to the liking principle. Why I decided to put this also was, I feel a lot of times nowadays we see a lot of rage bait content. Even if
There we go.
somebody, it's like, okay, you do not see this person eye to eye, you do not think this person is correct, factually correct to you, or maybe you feel like this person is not, maybe they wronged you in some way or sort. There should be a way of presenting your thoughts in a very diplomatic and a very you know standpoint of manner, rather than rage baiting and bullying anybody. And that I see a lot, and rage bait does give you a lot of views, but that isn't consistent actually. If you create your whole brand on a negative emotion, that negative emotion is going to wear off. From after a time, people will be only interested with you for a certain amount of time, but after a certain amount they'll be like, this person just rage baits, nothing more, this person just bullies other person, nothing more. That brand is not something, and that actually loses your brand value. That is why a lot of brands actually try to create a very positive narrative towards them. Even if they end up doing any mistake, they're very first ones to call out themselves and be like, hey, we are sorry, we did this mistake, but these are our steps to navigate this back. So people do businesses like those who they like, they people that we feel are similar to us or are genuinely very supportive. In the terms of personal branding, would be like sharing your learning struggles. Like, for example, it took me like 3 attempts to get into an event bridge, right? Anyone who knows how to run this lambda script or anything like that, as simple as that, like showcasing your vulnerability gives you a very like a learning standpoint where normal people can connect with you, like genuinely, like, oh, this person seems very genuine enough to say their struggles out loud. Or just not just about tech, let's just say finding common grounds by talking about hobbies, talking about work tips, side projects, or even any meetup. Like, hey, I'm into this AWS meetup, let's meet up, or something like that. But more than that, I feel we should celebrate others. Shout out to this person for launching this something. Let's just say you gave an advice to somebody and they tagged you in, or they didn't even tag you, okay, but they ended up doing what you said and they have done a phenomenal job with it. Tag them in your post and be like, oh my god, you are so fabulous, you did it so good. Even if that doesn't mean putting recognition for yourself, that doesn't mean like in that sense, okay, but just celebrating them as a people. I often see this thing like, hey, this person doesn't even tag me in their post, I don't want to tag them anymore, I don't want to celebrate them anymore. And I'm like, why? Just because they didn't do it doesn't mean their hard work or their gratitude towards them might not be there, just because they didn't say it out in words. It's always a good thing to give it back, or celebrate others, because that builds emotional rapport in some way, which basically drives referrals, team influence, and even client retention in that manner, or personal retention in that manner, even more than raw expertise. So whenever building your brand or anything in general, I'm not going to say a brand's name, but a negative influence doesn't pull you on actually. And even if you had a bad influence or you had a bad rapport with them, should be a very logical and a very respectful, like constructive criticism. Yeah, that was the word I was looking in my head. Like you should have a very you should be giving constructive criticism than bullying somebody, which people don't find the line to very easily. So yeah, and this other person should also be having that key, okay, this is a constructive criticism, this is where I should learn from this. So yeah, that is the liking principle in general, and the liking principle works very interceptively with mere exposure effect. So over here, what I've done is I've put in my own post, okay? And as I mentioned before, like I had I get DMs sometimes like, hey, how are you crossing this 300 plus? How are you crossing this 100 plus? What is going on? It's just normal post. How is it creating any effect? And I was like, the only answer to this is the more you see someone with a brand associated with something, the more you trust. And like I said, the other points where you have to create a positive rapport for yourself, also for them, when you meet in person or in online spaces. But the more they see you with that brand, the more they associate with you. And that phenomena is called mere exposure effect. For example, a branding tactic would be weekly AWS post. Like you post very, a weekly, like on a certain day, or not even a certain day, but you have a post every week. You have a very consistent branding over here. It could be in the form of banner, it can be in the form of profile pic, it can be form in the tone, anything. So recently I started, what I did was, I am into doodling and all, so I started doodling my pictures like this. And like what this created was, people didn't, even if people, I didn't have this, but people didn't remember my picture when I posted. They were like, huh, you posted about this, good. But actually I had conversations with people saying that, oh, you posted about, this is your favorite person as a doodle in a picture, this is the favorite person I see with you in meetup. And I was like, yeah. So that creates a correlation, that's a very consistent branding. Now whenever they see a doodle, they will remember me in a picture, like they'll be like, oh, that is Janvi's post for sure. Or I am a very sticker frantic, okay? I've tried to keep that obsession of mine, but it hasn't worked yet. So I end up putting stickers here and there. Like when I meet somebody for the first time, or I'm going in a conference or a tech event, if let's just say I had a very good conversation with that person, or if I had a very positive reciprocation with that person, I'll just end up giving them a sticker. I'll be like, hey, here's a sticker, I hope you use that well. And that's a very small thing, like that is a very unique branding to mine, where they, if they see a sticker again, they'll remember me, like, oh, that is given by Janvi itself. So that is what consistent branding over here experiences. And active participation, I cannot stand on the fact that you should have very active participation if you want to be in the AWS ecosystem. Have participation in your community, whatever community, AWS community is in your region. You should have a very active participation in AWS forums, whether it be in blogs, Discord groups, or webinars. And you should actually be up for anything as a team member rather than a guest, I'll say, because that makes a difference. So the 50th time when someone sees your post, it sticks, not because it's better than the first time, just because, recognition has a compounded over time. So think of your AWS brand like a radio signal that people always tune in repeatedly to remember your station. So that was mere exposure effect. So coming to the conclusion part, I yapped so much, I feel. But I have this quote that I use always, that master the cloud while mastering the connection. That basically means that, your certification, your knowledge, your hands on skills get you in the room for sure. but how you're perceived, how you communicate, and how you build relationship determines who remembers you, refers you, or buys from you. And I had a very good talk about this with one of an AWS employee. I don't know if I can say the name, but uh, it's can I
If you want to name somebody, that's I mean perfectly fine. They're
oh,
yeah. It's
okay,
yeah.
I'll unname them. But they are a very sweet person. They are someone who always cheers me out, and I love meeting them whenever they are in town.
Oh well, then yeah,
So
you can say their name. If I thought you were going to talk
course.
smack about somebody. There's this jerk that I know. His name's Damien. No. If this is somebody
Hey.
you love, absolutely name their name.
So this is something that I learned from actually when I was a AWS cloud captain from Jen. She is no longer in AWS, but okay. As well as Aditi, she is in AWS. So we always talk about, let's just say, work culture and everything. And one thing she always specifies to me is that no matter how much of a technical expertise you have, just if you are a jerk, if you do not if you do not have that team building spirit, if you are mean to people, or like just say, you just don't know how to communicate or how you are perceived, no, you are not going to be part of that team, even if you are. So this is, so this opened to me like, even if you have the most technical skills, the most hardcore skills, if you do not have a soft skill to compare that offer to, actually subside that too, you are no help. In short, because even, actually we people forget that even if we are in technical forums or in technical, you know space, there is a thing called that you're still connected with each other through humanity, and you should be using that technical expertise for humanity, not against that, or not being like, oh, I want to see myself in top, nobody else. Or I want to brand myself where I am the only star, nobody else in my team. So if you kind of have that kind of, rapport with people, it's not going to take you anywhere. So I always say this when I'm meeting new people, that when they ask me like, oh, how do you like, what is the one go-to code that you'll go for? I always say that master the cloud while also mastering the connection, for sure. Because these are how AWS expertise, with even if I tell you all the psychological precision about all this, and you combine it with AWS expertise, you cannot be influential until you just stop being one another engineer and become an influential sought after cloud professional, or a cloud person, or a cloud expert. So that's where the difference lies altogether. So yeah, this was mastering the cloud credibility, mastering yourself in, AWS era. And yeah, these are my contact information. If somebody is seeing this and want to talk with me more, you can scan this and get into my LinkedIn. Though I answer very late on LinkedIn, I don't know, I am just going on a very bad streak. But you can always always give me an email, send me an email, and I'm always answering my emails. It's hard being a college student right now, so
I can't even imagine. Yeah, congratulations on getting your exams done too, by the way.
should I tell you my CGPA? I got my CGPA. I'm like, Mom, you better give me a party.
I can tell you. So I love this talk because there's nothing more frustrating when you're like in an enterprise situation, or somebody that's got like a really good idea that's brilliant, and they're technically knowledgeable, but they talk like this and they don't ever get their point across, and they're always just kind of like looking off in the corner, and you're like, what? Speak up. I've had people on my teams that have been absolutely like technically brilliant, and will be in a meeting and their ideas get like washed out and talked over by the one loudmouth who is technically not proficient, but they're just so overconfident in their wrong idea that wrong idea sometimes accidentally gets implemented. And the quiet person in the corner who actually had the good solution didn't get a word in edgewise. that kills me. That absolutely kills me. So I love this talk for those people that really need. It's such a double-edged sword too, though, isn't it? it's
Yeah. You know what's more saddening though? Like,
Hmm.
let's just say you have a very good idea, okay? You're just not able to present it in or communicate it well. And like you said, a loud mouth might know your idea and say it out loud and get the whole credit.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
boils my, that
Oh,
boils my. I'm
yes.
like, wait, what? This was your idea. But there is also like, okay, then it's so unprofessional. It's considered very unprofessional that after that you bring that up. People are like, oh, why did you not bring it up at that time in that situation? And I'm like, wait, just because they are not confident enough, it doesn't mean you can walk over them. That's such
Right.
a wrong way.
Right.
That's how
It's
it is now.
yeah. I find. I mean, from a leadership perspective, it's on the leaders of the team at that point to make sure that the people that really are the stars, not star, that's a bad term, but make sure that credit goes where credit is due,
Right.
and to not let that kind of toxicity happen in your teams and like in your projects and stuff. So absolutely 100% agree. Nice. Well,
Yeah.
we are actually getting close to the end of time. I wanted to make sure a couple of shout outs from Rajiv. Awesome show, really informative session. Thanks. We're getting a lot of kudos in the audience, and I was also being very, very snarky. But Damien, any questions that you wanted to pose or anything that before we wrapped up?
No, I think this has been fantastic, and I think this is, information that would be very helpful for people who are trying to make a place for themselves within the AWS community, or really any community, right? Whether it's a technical community, a local one, like a faith-based organization, right? Like these are just tips on how to win friends and influence others, right? But yeah, I really, really like it. My probably the last 15 to 20 years of my career have only been successful because of my network, right? It was because of people that I knew. It was never because of a cold call or a cold application, right? Like those don't work, right? So, even more now in 2025, right, when you can spam 1,000 job applications with a computer, right? Like,
Yeah.
even now it's even more important to be present and connected within your community, right? Because that's how you're going to help others, but also help yourself, right? Like Chris said here in the YouTube chat, we rise by lifting others, right? Yeah. If you have to tear people down to make yourself feel bigger, you're doing it wrong.
Yep. 100%.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So real fast, I did the drawing in the background while we were doing this, and the winner that made the comment was Rajiv. It was actually hilariously a misspelling of LOL. He spelled Lou, and then he spelled LOL. So Rajiv, you have won the weekly AWS compute credits. So DM me. You see my profile in the chat as well. So just DM Chris Williams, and I will get you your AWS compute credits as well.
Oh my God.
Good job, team. John V, thank you so much for coming on. This was a fantastic presentation. You have magnificent energy.
Yes.
You knocked it out of the park on this one. Good job.
Thank you so much for having me. Actually, it's
Yeah.
more I am just getting energy from you guys. Actually, the more you guys are laughing, the more you guys are singing with me. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, this is a
really
fun
just
show.
Chris's beard. That's all. It's the beard. It's sentient. It's
It does all the talking for me. I'm just actually I'm
Yeah.
currently asleep. That's
I
I've
don't
been
have to put it on. You guys are handsome. Like you both are like just
See,
handsome.
now,
So
you've
I'm
already
getting
made the
more
show.
energy from that.
You don't have to butter us up now. You've already done the
no.
show. You should have done that before the show started. Oh, never mind. All
I
right.
would have gotten more compliments in between then, right?
All right, enough of that. We're out of here. Everybody have a wonderful time. John V, thank you so much for coming on, and we will see you all again next week, where we have apparently somebody that we've got to ask about her musical chops. So we're going to get into it next week as well. Everybody have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.